So you don't need me to tell you where that music comes from because you know it's Jaws. The movie is celebrating its 50th anniversary. It's hitting theaters next week. Also, there's a new Disney Plus documentary called Jaws at 50 and is looking back at the impact of this movie. I'm Radheyan Simonpillai sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. I got two Jaws super fans here with me, Norm Wilner and Tomris Laffly. Welcome to Commotion, y'all.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Hello. You guys are terrifying with this music, with this the bed of music right now.
I should have said hello.
Hello.
You know.
Just taking a bite out of us is
I
what
was
you should have done.
kind of loom up from under the desk.
Look, Norm, I'm going to start with you. I mentioned that documentary. I mean, in that documentary, one of the first things James Cameron talks about is like the lasting charm of Jaws being like a nostalgia factor, and specifically like, you know, looking back at the way back when you first experienced it, that first contact. So, I mean, I want to start off by asking you, like, what was your first contact? Like, what do you remember about seeing this for the first time?
I have the weirdest relationship with the first experience of Jaws. My parents divorced when I was 10. My dad got your classical bachelor apartment with a second bedroom for my brother and me to come and stay on weekends. And he had a Betamax VCR with 5 tapes because 10 and 8-year-olds get up really early. And divorced men in their 30s probably want to sleep more. So we would watch a movie like 6 a.m. because it was exciting. We didn't have a VCR at my mother's house. So we would get up and watch movies. And he had a little rack of stuff for us. And one of the tapes was Jaws, which he had taped off the ABC network broadcast for the first time. And he told us we had to start at the counter number of 675. This is kids back in the day. There were rotary counters on VCRs, and you had to roll it forward. So we could only watch it from 675 on. And that was the scene where Quint, Hooper, and Brody get in the boat and go out on the sea.
Right.
And the first hour of the film was a mystery to me because it was too terrifying.
Right.
We weren't allowed to watch it. And I probably would have been fine. I was 10, but my brother Mike was only 8, and maybe it would have scared him. So that was my relationship with Jaws for about a year. We only watched that second half, and it's a great adventure movie.
Yeah.
But then you catch up to the full film, which I think I must have done when I was 12 or 13, and you realize, oh, okay, so it's a character study. It's a community film. It is it's practically an Altman movie with overlapping dialogue and idiosyncratic characters and things bouncing off of each other. And all this stuff is there because the shark didn't work. And so I saw the second half. I saw the movie that I think Spielberg kind of wanted to make all along. But the rest of it makes the second hour so much richer and better. I do think it's a perfect engine.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating way to experience it. And I feel like, even just like recording a movie off TV, I remember how many movies I did not see the right way because they're censored and because there's all these commercials and they're cutting scenes from it. Tomris, what about you? Like, talk to me about your first experience with Jaws.
I mean, I love that Norm said Betamax. As soon as you use that word, I'm immediately shot back to, my childhood, my youth, my teenhood. To be honest, I don't exactly remember what age I was at when I first saw Jaws. I was definitely younger than 10-year-old. And I'm pretty sure it's Jaws 2 that I saw first because that happened to be on TV. I'm born on 78, I don't know. And I grew up in southern Turkey. We had a little summer home on the Mediterranean. It's basically my small town moved to this little community beach town every summer. Not nice like Martha's Vineyard, but, nice enough when you're a kid and that's all you know.
Martha's Vineyard being where Jaws was actually shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amity means friendship, but it's shot on Martha's Vineyard. And it's on the Mediterranean, obviously. We do not have great white sharks in the Mediterranean, but I actually remembered the first summer that I saw Jaws, swimming became a terrifying experience, even in the Mediterranean. And I remember people would be quoting this, be careful with that sailboat. Remember what happened in Jaws. It was just so much in the air, so much in the atmosphere that, of course, then I went back and then saw the first one. It was kind of on constant rotation on Turkish TV. And I was scared, and my parents didn't really police what I was watching. It was before movie ratings were even a thing in Turkey. It was just a shark movie terrifying a town. And, I obviously understood some of the more basic intentions, but as Norm was saying, it was in the later years that I started to really plug myself into the larger atmosphere that Spielberg was creating about, family dynamics, father and son, as we see in The Fabelmans. Those are lifelong preoccupations for Spielberg, and for good reason. The relationship between the husband and wife, and this perfect orchestrated symphony of people who were in right ways and wrong ways trying to survive this thing, either trying to have the town survive this thing or themselves trying to survive the experience. And it's just a perfect movie, a perfect summer movie, perfect adventure movie. It's a perfect thriller. Sometimes it's a perfect body comedy. I just love it with all my heart.
I love it too. I mean, both of you are making me think of like Jordan, Norm. You mentioned that this could have been an Altman movie, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is the same year, 1975, as Nashville, Altman's masterpiece, and that just makes me think of like kind of just the larger, Nashville being a kind of a picturesque of the larger American culture and stuff. Can you walk me back to 1975 and talk to me about what was going on in America and culturally and politically at that time?
Yeah. Well, actually, sorry. if you watch Jaws, you get it. Like you understand everything about what was happening in America without ever having a single moment of exposition about it. So Vietnam is crawling to. I guess it's already over, isn't it? Because Nixon said he'd ended it, but it took a little while to get the troops out. So when they shot it in '74, it was still sort of rolling out. Watergate had happened. There was a general sense that the sexual revolution and the civil rights revolutions had failed, or at least sort of sputtered out, for lack of a better term. Things were better, but not where they could have been, because everybody got tired of hippies really fast, which is another thing that's in Jaws. Like Matt Hooper is dressed like a refusenik.
Right.
He probably managed to dodge the draft by staying in school and becoming a marine biologist. And it never comes up. Quint's a veteran. We know that because he was on the Indianapolis in World War II. We don't know about Brody. He's probably too old. Maybe Korea, but I doubt it. But all of these men are carrying that history in them. And the other thing that's really interesting about Jaws is that if you look at Amity, it's lily white. There are 4 people of color. And it's shocking to see the first one show up about an hour in. There's a black police officer directing traffic off the ferry. And it's like, oh, that is literally the first person of color in this movie for an hour. And it's 1975 and nobody thought about it. But that's part of America too. And we're also experiencing that incredible mistrust in government and authority, in that Amity is collectively allowing its citizens, mostly, hopefully, visitors rather than islanders, to get eaten by this thing rather than close the beaches. It's weirdly enough, people caught on to Jaws again during COVID, I think, because it's the same thing. If they just shut the beaches down for 5 days, the shark would have gone away. It would have been over. If they'd controlled the virus right away, 3 weeks, 4 weeks would have been done. But that didn't happen because, the airplanes had to keep, well, the airplanes didn't, but the world has to keep spinning and Amazon packages have to keep being delivered. And so we just got stuck with this thing. And Jaws feels almost more relevant than ever now in its weird sense that you cannot trust anybody to save you. You're on your own, which is what that second hour is about, because all this incredible world building, all the conversations about the merchants and the businessmen and the hoteliers who want to keep Amity going for the summer dollars, none of that matters anymore. Now it's just about the 3 men who kind of saw this coming the whole time, or definitely saw it coming, going out to deal with the problem they could have dealt with an hour ago.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, when you mentioned like the whole how Jaws re-entered the zeitgeist during the pandemic, I mean, we literally had that moment where like Florida opened the beaches again, and we're like, we are living in Amity right now. By the way, I should point out, Norm is actually wearing, for those who are listening on the radio, Norm is wearing an Amity Island T-shirt as we speak.
Dress for the job you want.
Look, I want to put a totally unfair question to you two Jaws super fans. I know, and I'm going to ask it anyway, even though it's unfair. I'm going to ask you, like, Tomris, we're going to start with you. Do you have a favorite moment from Jaws? And if so, what is that?
I mean, I feel like it would be almost a cheat to pick one of the most famous moments in Jaws as a favorite moment. I'm thinking about you're going to need a bigger boat. I'm thinking about that zoom effect when Chief Brody is watching the beach, and then there's this split diopter. I am not going to go with any of those moments. I actually will pick one moment that is almost like a throwaway moment in this film that's, I think, goes back to the Altman-esque touches that Norm was talking about. It's the moment where this guy in, I think, this flannel shirt and captain's head and a pipe and a milk and cereal just walks out, stops there, looks around, smokes his pipe, smiles, and walks away. I mean, it's just such a perfect moment that actually really boils down some of my favorite things about the movie. First of all, apart from the main cast, a lot of the players, a lot of the actors in Jaws were cast from real Martha's Vineyard locals. And that was really a moment that Spielberg allowed this film to breathe and to establish the audience inside. This is the world that you're living in. This is the world that these people are living in. Here is a very colorful character from this world that I'm going to show him to you so that you can actually get on board where you are. That is really my favorite moment. Closely followed by when I think Hopper says it's a tiger shark. And then everybody turns around. The guy says, "A what?" I love that moment. I love it. But again, that goes back to what I'm saying. It's just this perfectly orchestrated. Even one scene, actors, you remember them because they all serve a purpose of centering you into this location that's just so impeccably portrayed in the movie.
I love that in this movie that supposedly terrified everyone, and that's what people like always refer to. You guys, you're picking all the funny moments, the funny little character bits. Norm, look, like I understand this is the moment in Jaws that really sticks out for you.
Fast fish. Watch my arm. You should watch my hand now. Follow me.
So Norm, walk us through that moment. Like, what is happening there, and why is it why is that the scene that you really love?
It's the moment after about 75 minutes of sustained nightmare tension. Even when they're on land, you're worried about them because they're on an island and the shark could basically just come up and get them at the dock, which we actually see in one scene earlier on. But that's the scene. Hooper, Brody, and Quint are on the Orca. They're chasing the shark. They've got a barrel or two in it. And it's the moment where there's a single shot where all of that commotion that you heard. Hooper's driving the boat. Quint's trying to line up another barrel and shoot it, and Brody's just sort of been crouching behind the I don't know, the superstructure. He's hiding behind the boat in the back half of the boat so that the shark won't see him. Apparently, because Roy Scheider is terrified, or he's playing beautifully this thing that this New York City cop who left New York because it was too scary is also terrified of water, and the shark is in the water and it's going to eat him. He's seen it. He is genuinely frightened of all of this. But there's a single shot as they're speeding up where Brody sort of braces himself against the gunwale of the boat, and there's this hint of a smile on his face, and that's when the music turns into an adventure soundtrack instead of a horror movie. And it's the moment where the movie says, you thought this was a scary movie, and it still will be, but you can enjoy yourself. We know this is fun. Some part of this is fun, and that's Spielberg's unique ability. It's not a pivot in the way that, killing a major character halfway through a film is a twist, or it's not a twist. It's just the next evolution of the film. But it's sophisticated and smart and funny and warm in a really weird way. We are watching this guy start to love it. And it lets you love it. It lets the audience buy in because Brody is our representational character. We're supposed to be scared because he's scared. We're supposed to get brave at the end when he gets brave. But here's this moment where Steven Spielberg, who is 27 years old and desperately trying to make this movie work because nothing in it has worked so far, says, he reaches his hand out to the audience and says, it's going to be okay. You can like this. And you do. It's just so good.
Yeah. Well, talking about how he balances like adventure and horror and stuff, right? I want to get into a moment from that documentary we mentioned earlier, Jaws at 50, because here's the Get Out director, Jordan Peele, talking about the horror elements in the movie.
I think a great horror or great thriller is the perfect tailor-made nightmare for its protagonist. This shark getting closer and closer to this person who doesn't like the water. It's this mystical connection between hero and monster, and you feel that.
So Tomris, I mean, Peele's actually echoing a lot of what you just said, Norm, about these characters and their relationship to water. But Tomris, talk to me about how this movie explored, or what it brings specifically to kind of the monster movie genre.
I mean, a lot of the fright and terror in this movie stems from the fact that a lot of the times, especially early on, you can't actually see the shark. You see the point of view of the shark. You see the shark on approach. You actually feel it. You see the effect on the people, but it is this unknown monster learning beneath you, and that's why it's frightening. In that sense, I often look at Jaws as this amoral monster movie. I don't mean to say immoral, just amoral, because it doesn't necessarily have the protecting the marine life or environmental factors and this and that on its mind. It's basically just designed to scare you by this eating machine in this cavernous gap that you cannot see underneath you, and that's why it's just so scary. And I should just maybe echo and add to what Norm was saying. All this is thanks to the fact that the shark, I think they named him Bruce on the set. The Bruce was broken. Bruce was not working. And the best creative decisions sometimes are made on set based on what's not working, what's broken, and how are you going to solve that problem. You kind of just need to think on your feet and offer something a little bit scarier. So the point of view came into play. John Williams's half step, full step score came into play. Those are the really juicy horror elements that makes Jaws a perfect scary movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how, like, you know, the malfunctioning Bruce, the mechanical shark was just like a blessing in disguise and just actually kind of helped redefine how we're going to shoot a horror movie like this. I mean, Norm, is there anything you wanted to add on that front?
Oh, I could go on for a long time.
Don't.
Richard Dreyfuss had a story that he told over and over and over again. He tells it in the documentary that was made in '95. And he told it to me the same year when I interviewed him for Mr. Holland's Opus. And I'm just like, I only want to talk about Jaws, Richard Dreyfuss. Let's talk about Jaws. But he said he would, every morning they would get up, and it was a walk down the hill. They were on a B&B at the top of a hill, and they would walk down. He would get a coffee, and he'd walk down. And at every block, it was the three intersections to clear before they got to the docks where they were going to shoot. And at every block, there would be somebody from the film crew with a walkie, and it would be going, the shark is not working. And he would look at the guy, and the guy would shrug, and hey, keep going. And he would go down, and the next guy would be, the shark is still not working. And they would the same things like, I guess just keep going down. And he would get down there, and Spielberg would be at the dock with his head in his hands next to this thing, and 3 prop guys were kicking the shark, and that was it for the day. So you walk back up to the B&B, and he would sit down with Robert Shaw and Roy Scheider and Carl Gottlieb, the screenwriter, and eventually Spielberg would join them, and they would work on their characters, and they would figure out what to do to fill time in the movie. And that is where you get these relationships. That's where you get the detail. It's all just filler, but it works because it cares about these characters. Like the kids from the karate school are karateing the picket fences. That's a throwaway line that they came up with just to fill out this one take, this long oneer of Scheider walking into the town from the police station down to the paint store, to the hardware store. And all of that had to happen because the scene they wanted to shoot couldn't be shot. So they just came up with something else. And you see these incredibly complex shots and sets that were kind of willed into existence to fill that first hour. But it all works because it's always grounded in character. There's a throwaway line in that wonder. It's like, I want to do the printing. Let Polly do the printing. And it just tells you these guys have a history. Right. That Polly is a better sign painter than Hendrix. And we never see Hendrix's effort. We don't need it. But it's all part of this community that has existed before the movie started and will hopefully exist when the movie ends, because they'll hopefully kill the shark.
hopefully. You know, I mean, look, Tomris, I wanted to talk about like the fact that, I mean, Jaws is not the only shark movie we have in this world.
No.
See, like,
what do you mean?
I mean, like, yeah, we've had so many shark movies. We had so many other Jaws movies. So what is it about Jaws that makes Norm disregard everything that has come after it?
I mean, look, if the greatest shark movie is made in 1975, people had 50 years to try to do something as good or better, and they haven't even come close to it. I think we were already talking about those reasons. You know, first of all, the horror is orchestrated so perfectly. It's about the unknown monster. The orchestration and the symphony that these characters bring to the movie is just impeccable. Because I feel like every good horror movie should have a heart, should have a center based in character. You are scared because you are scared of the person you care about. If you don't care about that person whose lens you're seeing the movie through, you're not actually going to be scared. You're just going to shrug it off as mindless entertainment. But no, you actually care about the site and you care about these people. That's why it works. And also, some of those shots are just mind-bogglingly, even today, are unmatched. once again going to go back to the Roy Scheider scene in the beach, the zoom and the split diopter when he's trying to just orchestrate in his head what's happening. No shark movie after that gave me anything like that. I mean, it's based on cheap thrills, and sometimes it's fun. This big mech creature or the super mega shark comes and bites you, but none of it has been as rooted in character as Jaws has been, which is what makes it a perfect shark movie.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, there's kind of a dark side to Jaws's like impact and how great it is because, like, Norm, I mean, talk to me about kind of how this movie changed the public perception of sharks, right? Like the way it like kind of stoked fear and fascination in real life when it came to sharks.
It supercharged it. Yeah, it's true. And Peter Benchley came to regret that and worked.
Being the author,
the
Peter
author
Benchley.
of the original novel, worked as a conservationist for I think 15 years or so, really aggressively before he sort of stepped back. And yeah, it's I think it's all contained in Matt Hooper's speech about how he is fascinated by sharks, the shark that ate his boat when he was young. And he tells the story with such incredible enthusiasm and he respects them. But when he needs to scare Vaughn with the billboard scene, like a shark does three things. It does nothing but swim and eat and make little sharks. And it's Richard Dreyfuss delivering it, and he's young and enthusiastic, and it's charming, but it also puts forward that, yeah, these things are dangerous, and we shouldn't be bothering them. That's the other thing. Again, if they closed the beaches, the shark would have gone away. But by presenting this monsterized shark, you know, it's a 30-footer, 20-foot, whatever, however big it is, they never really get a good look at it. It's larger than all the other predators. It's a rogue. It's not behaving as normal. I think the film is being somewhat responsible in depicting that this monster is a monster. This is an unusual shark. But it is based on, Jaws, the novel, was inspired by an incident in the 1910s where some bathers outside of Coney Island were attacked repeatedly. Jesus, I'm using Larry Vaughn's language now. Some injured, some bathers. Some people were killed swimming by sharks, were attacked and eaten, and that created the first panic. Also, newspapers were really circulating it then because an invisible terror is the best kind of terror because you can't prove it isn't there. So that set the stage for Jaws, and then Jaws, obviously, the moment Universal realized they had a blockbuster on their hands, they went all in on the shark marketing, and so it creates the demon. It makes people afraid of sharks. But then, of course, Jaws 2 comes out, and it's like just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. The marketing has always been tied to the idea that this is a terror. But people do have a visceral terror. Civilians, most landlubbers, have a visceral terror of sharks, probably because of that, but also because of the fear of the unknown and the fear of the dark and the sense that the ocean doesn't care if you live or die, and there are things out there that want to eat you. And the movie plays into all of those things. It didn't create them, but it absolutely amplified them.
Go ahead, yeah.
If I may add, I mean, this is what I meant earlier when I said it's an amoral movie about, marine life and fish and sharks. And, it's appropriate to be afraid of sharks, just as it's appropriate and respectful to be afraid of lions, land creatures that might kill you. And in later, I think, sequels, perhaps the third one, so Jaws tried to shed off this amoral skin and try to bring some environmentalist concerns and conservationist mindset. But guess what? It didn't work because it just doesn't belong in the lexicon of a monster movie to that degree. But yes, it's unfortunate that people watch that movie and went trophy hunting. I think there's a shot of Quint's wall. There's all these jaws of various sizes, and the documentary articulates that became a fashionable thing for people to do. Unfortunately, that's the human race. They don't take what they need to. They take other things that they shouldn't take to.
Yeah. It's the stuff that makes money, right? It's the commercial impulse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, look, we didn't even get into making money. I mean, Jaws becoming like the first summer blockbuster, made like $450 million globally at the box office at that time, which is unheard of. I mean, that's like Avatar money today if you adjust it for inflation. But, we're going to have to save that for another day because we are all out of time. But thank you both here for sharing all your Jaws love with us.
Oh, anytime.
Thank you for having us.
Tomris Laffly is a member of the New York Film Critics Circle and a freelance film critic for publications like Variety. Norm Wilner is the host of the Someone Else's Movie podcast and the writer of the Shiny Things newsletter, also my former colleague at Now Magazine. You can watch Jaws at 50, the definitive inside story, now on Disney+, and also catch Jaws, the original, when it hits theaters across Canada next week, August 29th. I'm Radheyan Simonpillai, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Thank you for joining us.